Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. We've got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty leagues, PPR leagues, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
What is up? Welcome to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on a Tuesday today here. My name is Tom Dougherty, your host. As always, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. On Tuesday here, we're a couple weeks away from your drafts. Well, at least actually a couple weeks, maybe like 10 days away from your draft if you're drafting when I tell you to draft. And waiting till the last game of the preseason to do it. Labor Day is that perfect day. Nobody's working. Monday off. Have a party in your backyard. Order the draft board on Amazon. Have your buddies over, whoever you're having your league with, and have a draft. Obviously, the online version of it is fun too. But I mean, if you have everybody in the same town or most of your team, most of your league in the same town, and you can have a little party, it's always more fun to spice it up a little bit in your backyard or in your living room, wherever you're doing. You can order these big boards where they have obviously it's all columned out by round and team, and then you have the stickers with the player's name on it, and you go up there and actually make your selection, which is actually pretty cool. Where you have your timer, and then you just go out, you peel off your sticker, and you go put it up there, and everybody knows who you picked, which is actually pretty fun. The only part is that then you get whoever the person is, like me last year, who have volunteered to input all of the selections into the computer, because you have to put it in the computer anyways. It took about 10 minutes. It wasn't that big of a deal. So it was actually fun. My league is doing it again this year. We're having the board with the stickers. Again, and we're doing a keeper league, which we talked about a lot on the show, how keeper leagues and how you can kind of find the best value with your keeper, the person you want to keep. If there isn't one guy that's like really jumping out to you, then find a skill position. Perfect example. My buddy had nobody that he wanted really on his team that was going to be worth keeping for this season, but he had Jared Goff. He didn't draft Jared Goff. He actually picked him up off waivers. And Jared Goff had a very nice fantasy season last year. Actually, you look at his week-to-week output, he did very good. And in that Rams offense, he's probably going to be doing just fine this year. If anything, he'll regress maybe a teensy bit. I think the whole team will be regressing a teensy bit. I don't know. NFL is weird. Free agency is interesting. They made the trades obviously to get Peters and everything, but why would the Saints want a top corner in the league if he is not some sort of issue? Why would they trade him? And it's like, okay, he's your problem now kind of situation. I don't know. I'm waiting to see what those two corners there and their first team with that defense is going to first year with that defense after the year where they were very good last year anyways. Obviously, losing Tremaine Johnson's a big deal, but then you replace him with Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. I think you feel okay on paper, but actually that has to happen in real life as well. So we'll wait on that. But the Rams, and going back to what I was saying, Jared Goff, he took Jared Goff as his keeper. He's probably going to take Jared Goff as his keeper because that means he's only surrendering his last pick. He still has all of his picks. He's be surrendering this last pick, a 16th round pick, whatever we're doing this year. I think it's 17 rounds actually, but yeah. So he's giving up that one and keeping Jared Goff, and it's honestly not a bad person to keep. He's a perfectly good quarterback, puts up some good points. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, coming from a fantasy output, you look at his number from last year. Look at the receivers they got this year. They got getting Brandon Cooks. Obviously, they do lose. I mean, Sammy Watkins goes over to the Chiefs, but that's kind of a wash. I think he's not really going to be. You have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks. That's a pretty good little options there. And then, I mean, I'm trying to think. Is it Kendricks or their tight end. Actually, Kendricks is in Green Bay now. So, I mean, just looking at the Rams, you can find there'll be some people to throw the ball to, and Todd Gurley obviously one of them. That's why I'm keeping Todd Gurley, because even if he regresses a little bit with his rushing yards, the passing yards, he's very difficult to defend. And the way the offense is going to be designed by Sean McVay, we saw last year, he's going to get open a lot. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to make catches. I think he averaged about 7.5 catches a game last year. Maybe even closer to 8. So, yeah, I would not be worried about the Rams' output this year. Maybe their coordination on defense is the only thing, and seeing if they might make a deal with who is it? It's with they're retired. I can't. I would say. Why do I think Sam Darnold? Because it's Donald. Aaron Donald is his name, because I think Donald, Los Angeles. It's all in my head. It's kind of weird. Yeah, but if they can get Aaron Donald signed, they'll be fine. They'll be fine this year, and they should run away with that NFC West. And the only team that's really going to probably give them any business is the Niners. And the Niners, I mean, I don't know. What did you guys think of Jimmy G's first 2 preseason games? I mean, he was on the field for about a drive, the first one, and they converted a couple first downs, and then that's about it. And the second one, second game against the Texans, they drove down and they scored a touchdown. So you're gonna like that on the opening possession to be able to do that. And then on the second one, he threw a pick, but it was, if anything, it was a throw that the guy made a nice play on, where it tipped off of the fingers of Dante Pettis and popped up in the air, and the guy dove and caught the ball right off the turf. So I mean, that was a great play. So it's not really the quarterback on that one. Maybe a little bit because the throw was high, but that was about it. You should have saw him throw he made for that touchdown pass to Trent Taylor. That was pretty nice. Sorry, fanboy moment. But yeah, that's the only challenger you're going to see in the NFC West for the Rams, because the Cardinals, Sam Bradford's not the answer, and Josh Rosen's not ready yet. And then in Seattle, Russell Wilson does not have nearly enough around him to do anything. So, Tom, this is a fantasy show. Fantasy. Usually teams, when they play well collectively and are winning games, their fantasy players then in return do well, like Todd Gurley last year and like Jared Goff. So yeah, and you can't say, Jared Goff's going to have that sophomore slump. Well, no, last year actually was his sophomore year, but he had the freshman year slump because he was Jeff Fisher. It was Jeff Fisher 101 basically, and that didn't work out. He probably was the most happy that that was a transition at coaching there, getting an offensive minded coach in Los Angeles. But it is what it is. Looking around, I mean, looking at the league. I mean, if you only take the league I was in last year, for example. I mean, a guy last year, Zach Ertz wasn't really on the radar because obviously we weren't really sure what Carson Wentz was going to be doing last year. He wasn't really on the radar regarding the tight ends as much as he is now. Obviously, right now he's the number 3 tight end in most rankings, right? But in between right in between Travis Kelce and Evan Ingram. So right now he's number 3, and I know my buddy, he picked him with his last pick last year, the last pick of the draft, because I mean, if you want to think about it, now everybody picks. People pick. We only had, I think it was an 8-man league. It was kind of weak, but I know this year it's going to be better. But everybody picked their tight end, and you only need one tight end really out of a draft. You're not going to take 2 tight ends, and he was still on the board. I'm trying to think of the tight ends that got picked ahead of him. Actually, I'm going to pull this up really quick. I have the picture of it right here. So it looks like that, obviously, Gronk, Jimmy Graham, who's that? Travis Kelce, Jordan Reed, Greg Olsen, Delaney Walker, Jared Cook, Martellus Bennett, Kyle Rudolph, all got picked before Zach Ertz. I mean, you don't even see an Evan Ingram on there, so he's going to be available. He'll be a name on there this year. And then you'll probably see names like Martellus Bennett. He retired, so he's not going to be on there anymore. And also Jason Witten retired as well, so you're not going to see him on there anymore as well. And then I think Jordan Reed, I think I drafted him last year. Never again. But yeah, too injury prone. Yeah, never again. Yeah, 2 tight ends retired, so yeah, we have some options. But he's going to pick Zach Ertz and keep Zach Ertz. That takes one off the board. So basically, we're going to be fighting. I mean, I like Delaney Walker, so I'll probably be okay with taking him. But I really like Delaney Walker, especially in that Titans offense like that. He's perfect in the red zone, perfect for play action. They have 2 really good running backs now with Deion Lewis down there. Marcus Mariota should be able to tear it up again this year. And you have Corey Davis healthy at the beginning of the year this year. So hopefully he gets keep it that way and not have to like just make a little appearance in the playoffs like he did last year. But yeah, Corey Davis, that's a talent right there as well at receiver. As we can go over the rankings again. I know we did it a long time ago. If you guys ever have any questions on just like basic stuff, I probably covered it over the last 2 months when we were going through this off season. I've been doing the show since April with no football, so there's a lot. But I've talked about a lot of stuff, and if you want to go to the to the catalog there wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or however you're listening to it. You can go back and look at the catalog, and all the show titles have everything basically that you need. So, waiver tips, veteran value, young players, draft time, late round value, NFL young stars, expectations and surprises. We're gonna re-go over this again. My sleepers, keepers, and weepers. You guys, if you missed that episode, go back and listen to it. That was a great show. Performance variables, college players, go move it to the NFL. So basically the rookies. The top players in the league, covered them. Outlook for the stars, OTAs. I did a like, love, and hate kind of thing. So, we did a focus on each division as well, looking at each team as a whole, and picking out some individual players from each team that we like for fantasy. Because obviously, fantasy. I know I have draft keys, non PPR, PPR up there right now, kind of doing the comparison. So. PPR, we'll talk about this throughout the rest of the show, but PPR is based on, I think PPR comes down to your running backs. I think that both of them come into the running backs, but PPR, it comes down to running backs for how many catches they get, basically. How many pass catching running backs can you possibly have on a team? 3. And start them all because you have a flex player. If you have two running backs in a flex, that's 3 more receivers you can have on your team and get those points per catch. That's what it is. It's points per catch. If you want to have an actual receiver on the bottom, in your flex, that's fine too. But just remember, all those throws, all those check downs, all those little easy throws to the running back, points. Those aren't the easiest. Those aren't the hardest throws in the world. If you think you can have, I'm just trying to think of something right off the top of my head here. For a flex position, comparisons. Let me think of something. I need to think of a receiver that's like kind of peripheral. And even though I love Cameron Meredith, I think Cameron Meredith will be great. That's a good compare. That's a good comparison. Cameron Meredith is going to be great. His first year in New Orleans, has a brand new, beautiful quarterback, and not new in New Orleans, but for him it's new, and it's a guy who can actually throw him the ball, give him the ball, and Drew Brees. And then compared to I'm trying to think of another pass catching running back that doesn't really get like a Corey Clement. Corey Clement's going to get a bunch of touches this year. You have no more. It's him and J.J. there in Philadelphia, and they're probably going to try and manage, especially if Carson Wentz starts week 1. I bet you they don't put him in very many scenarios where he's going to be holding the ball that long. So quick passes to the running backs out of the backfield is what I'm thinking. So there you go. Cameron Meredith, a receiver with other receivers on the team, or Corey Clement. Or even J.J., honestly. J.J. will catch the ball out of the backfield a lot, too, this year. But Corey Clement's, they're mostly their pass-catching back. And, that's a trade-off. Do you want the pass-catching back that's going to get those screen plays, could bust one out, or you want to try and see if Cameron Meredith gets in the end zone? Because he's not going to, I don't know, what's the average catches? They probably run the same for those two guys, honestly. I would say average catches per game is the same. Even though one's a receiver and one's a running back, it's just the way the offenses work. I think that you're going to have more opportunity to throw that little small running back out of the backfield. Especially, like I said, Wentz is going to be they're going to probably managing that game so where he doesn't have to do as much on that knee, especially if he does start week 1. If it's Nick Foles week 1, then honestly, I probably say the same thing. You saw what Nick Foles did in the Super Bowl with Corey Clement running that little wheel route. That was a nice play, and it was a catch. I don't care what you guys think about the catch rule. They changed it. That was a catch. It was a catch then. It was a catch now. It's a catch everywhere. The ball may have moved a degree to the left while he was cradling it in his arms, and he never lost control of the ball. I don't know what you guys are talking about. He never lost control of the ball. I'll rest my case with that one. But that's basically what we're thinking here. with PPR in the flex position, do you go with the running back or the receiver? It's kind of a toss-up. Depends who you got an option, who you have an option. If you can't find a pass-catching running back, then you might as well just go with the receiver, obviously. But if you can find a good pass-catching running back, like a Rex Burkhead or like I said, a Corey Clement, or even a guy who's going to probably be the number one back, like a Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon will catch the ball in the backfield a lot this year, probably for the, or maybe Giovanni Bernard will. But if it's the dual-headed monster there in Cincinnati, well, I'm not going to call anything in Cincinnati a monster, but that's what they're running there in Cincinnati, it looks like this year. All right, we'll take a quick break, come back and talk basically the same thing we're doing, just kind of going over a little overview, draft keys, comparing the two PPR versus non-PPR, what you like, different tips and tricks regarding either leagues, whether you're doing it points per catch or non-points per catch for this season. So everybody stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on a Tuesday today here as we are creeping ever closer to the time where, people probably started drafting now, honestly, whatever. Your funeral if somebody gets hurt in the preseason, especially week 3. Okay, you can have my signed, sealed approval draft after week 3. It's fine. You could do that because nobody's playing week 4 anyways. Of the preseason that matters. I mean, they all matter, but of players that fantasy owners care about and are going to be drafting, there'll be a few like the sleepers probably, which is still why you don't draft until after the 4th game. But you can draft after the 3rd game if you so please, and if it's I know it's hard to schedule. I'm trying to schedule my draft right now too. It's hard to pinpoint one. I mean, they don't take an hour. They take like 2-3 hours sometimes, depending on how much time you're giving each person and how many teams you have in the league. So you can gauge it however you want. But so I said week 4. You have a week. You have I think 8 days or whatever it is, 7 days. No, actually it's less than that because I think the last preseason game, week 4, is that Saturday or Sunday, and then you have the first games on Thursday. So you have 5 days. Labor Day. What did I say? Labor Day is so perfect. It's right there just waiting for you to have a draft party. But I digress. You can draft now if you want and cross your fingers. But the thing is, I mean, yeah, cross your fingers. You love that IR tab. You go right into the waiver wire. All right. Well, so far, we've only had... we had 2 ACL tears, I think, so far. We had that safety for the Chargers, and then Darius Geis goes down with the ACL tear. So that's it. So that's about it so far regarding season enders. As far as I know Hunter Henry. He was that happened a while back, so nobody really got. I don't think anybody got bit with that one, unless you're drafted in June. No, that'd be kind of crazy. All right, PPR. We talked about that. How what's the question with the flex position? How do you get the most out of it? I think that especially you go off matchups. You go off of secondary. Are they going to? You can. I said linebackers are key for PPR as well because you can look at linebackers. Do they have athletic linebackers? Do they have good coverage linebackers? Look at the stats on how they cover running backs. So you can do that. They have stats for literally everything, and You can find out if a team is more susceptible to giving up yards through the air to a running back if they have weak linebackers who don't cover as well, or if they do, then maybe you go the other direction. You go towards the receiver in the flex position as well. So you can. I mean, whatever way you want. That's why I always like to have my bench is basically full. My bench will consist of, especially with six people, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a quarterback, and a defense. Always. I always have 2. I don't know why. I always have 2 defenses because I don't like getting caught in that little weird gray area where I'm trying to add a defense late and they have a bad matchup. So I always like to keep 2 defenses, and I'll keep one on my bench where they're the next week's defense. Basically, they have a good matchup next week, so I don't have to worry about the waiver wire with my defense, especially for ones that get hot. Like last year, the Chargers defense all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, the Chargers defense is really good. Like they're playing really well. They give up no points. I scored probably 30, 50 points the last 3 weeks with them, I think. So what? I had the Bears defense too last year because defenses are weird. Defense can trend up and down. You could have good stretches of defense. Bad stretches, somebody can get hurt. You get a player back. Pass rusher, safety. Defenses are very interesting because it's actually similar to offense. It's a dance. It's a choreographed dance. Yes, you have your coverages and you have your areas. If you play your coverages perfectly, you probably will make a good play. There is always a situation where the offensive play is just better and it beats the coverage. So that's true. That happens. But the thing is, what you don't want is blown coverage. So where you have the right coverage and you blew it, and then they get a big chunk play. So that's the last thing you want when you're a fantasy owner with the defense. So make sure that's what I do with my bench, and then I can mix and match my flex. However, and then of course a quarterback I have there just because I actually like running with 2 quarterbacks. Last year I did it for most of the year with Matt Stafford and Ben Roethlisberger, and it's kind of like, obviously it's like, oh my gosh, who's going to score more? It's kind of a gamble, but you really can go off of matchups. So you're not locked into one quarterback. Oh my gosh, he's facing the best defense in the league this year. I would just switch it. That's an easy decision. Big Ben's playing the Ravens. Oh, their defense is nasty. Okay, who's Matt Stafford playing? Oh, he's playing he's playing the Colts or something like that. Oh, they suck. So there. I mean, they both have very similar. I mean, that's actually not a bad. I was happy that I was actually able to end up with that. If you end up with that this year, you should be happy too, because the Lions, they're going to throw the ball a lot. The Steelers, they run the ball, but they also throw the ball a lot to their running back. So I mean, Big Ben is Big Ben, and Matt Stafford is Matt Stafford for reasons. They're Pro Bowl quarterbacks. And I said quarterbacks, we talk about it, they're a dime a dozen. I think you'd just be fine with Matt Stafford as you would be with Ben Roethlisberger, as you would be with Tom Brady. Maybe there's a couple handful of guys who are going to get you way out there. Aaron Rodgers didn't do anything crazy spectacular for me before he got hurt last year. You're not going to. There's no reason. I don't know why last year I had it in my head predetermined that I was going to pick Aaron Rodgers in first round no matter what. I don't know why I did that. It didn't end up coming back to bite me, fortunately, because I was able to draft and be savvy and up with the Todd Gurley pick. With the 4th round Todd Gurley pick, and it worked out, but yeah, it can be rough, and so it can be tough sometimes. But quarterbacks, 6th round or later, some people don't even pick them because you could end up especially if you're in an 8 or 10 man league. There's 12 quarterbacks on the board right now that can win you a league very easily. There are 12. You can win a league with 12 different quarterbacks this year and be totally fine. Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Stafford. I would throw obviously Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Marcus Mariota. I would say, honestly, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, if he has a bounce back season. I wouldn't say Blake Bortles, but obviously, did we say Aaron Rodgers yet? Aaron Rodgers, that's 10 right there. I think of 2 more. I said Russell Wilson already, right? I don't know. I'd have to write it down. Look at go on Fantasy Pros, go there, quarterback rankings. The top 12 guys, they're all going to be fine. There's not going to be much deviation. Maybe there's a tier on top and a tier on bottom, like half and half, where these 5 guys will do a little bit better than these 5 guys, but they're not going to separate themselves from each other all that much. Barring any injury or anything like that. So it's not going to happen. That's how quarterbacks work. And I think even in receivers, unless you get Antonio Brown, it's kind of like, or maybe DeAndre Hopkins, it's basically don't pick the guy who gets hurt or don't pick the guy who has the bad quarterback. Don't pick a guy who has Trevor Siemian as his quarterback like last year. If you picked a Demaryius Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders, That's your fault because Trevor Siemian wasn't ever going to cut it. Now they have Case Keenum. That's still kind of a question mark, honestly, for me down there. If you pick, honestly, the only problem is like what about Tom? What about Larry Fitzgerald? They got Stan Bradford. Well, Larry Fitzgerald's kind of recession-proof. He'll get his touches no matter what. And he's the only guy on that team that actually can get in the end zone. So, yeah, I think it'll be fine. And they have a running back so they can play action it all day long. And well, at least sometimes you don't need. The thing is, NFL games are long. 4 quarters. They're long games. You really only you can get your guys points. You can get your guys points. You can get your allotted points. Make your projection in like a half. Obviously, you want them to go further, but you can make 3 plays, boom, 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 40-yard, big chunk plays or something like that, and you could have your projection, and then you'd be like, okay, anything after this is extra. Anything after this is great. So you can do that. You can have that with PPR, and you'll be just fine if you go with a quarter running back. If you go with the receiver who may not have a great quarterback, but is the number 1 receiver for that team. That's the only way. If you're going to go for a receiver with a lower echelon quarterback, make sure he's the number 1 guy for that team, please. Like an Odell Beckham. Like I would say Peyton Manning. I think it's every time. Eli Manning is not. I would say he's in the lower tier of quarterbacks at this point right now. But Odell Beckham is his boy. Is his number 1 guy on that team, and he's going to get a lot of touches. That's why Sterling Shepard is probably on a down year this year because it's going to be the Odell, Saquon, and Evan Ingram show. Even though maybe by the middle of the season defenses will figure it out and start bracketing Odell, and Eli will be forced to throw to Sterling Shepard more. So I would not be surprised if by week 6 Sterling Shepard's ads go up a lot. That's pretty interesting. The thing is, actually, I know there's been teams drafted already. There's been teams drafting all month. If you look on ESPN, they're finally having their fantasy show with Matthew Berry, and they show like a counter of how many teams have been drafted already. It's probably teams have been drafted already for ESPN leagues, and it's a lot already. That's crazy. People rolling the dice. Week 3, because this is the week. Week 3 of the preseason is when everybody plays. That's when the starters play most of the game. Is week 3. So you'll see your starters for most teams play at least a half for week 3 for this coming in, and then obviously week 4 they won't play at all. So that's what I'm saying. Drafting after week 3 isn't the worst thing. I always like to wait till it's over. The preseason, make sure, okay, dust is settled, nobody's injured, we're good, okay, let's go. That's how I like to work it. All right. On the other side of the break, we got a few more minutes here, but on the other side of the break, we're going to go back. We're going to go to non PPR. And we talk about PPR law, all these receivers and pass catching running backs and all this stuff. We kind of know who our tight ends are. I think there's only just a couple guys that I would say stay away from, like a Jordan Reed. But everybody else, honestly, I think it's just fine. Maybe Jimmy Graham, stay away from him because I think they have a lot of different options in Green Bay when it comes to tight ends. They get I think they got Lance Kendricks on that team as well. I was just watching the Packers preseason game, and they're making some plays. Who actually you should sleeper maybe a little bit this year, just throwing out there. If you haven't watched Hard Knocks, actually the 3rd episode of Hard Knocks is tonight if you don't have HBO, but if you do, watch it. If you don't, find somebody who does have it and get their password and log in, or get HBO, because if you don't, you're missing out anyways. They have the Hard Knocks for the Cleveland Browns this year, and honestly, I was kind of surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. It's not terrible. It's good because Hugh Jackson, obviously, in the first week had a tough first week of that show, because during that filming of the first episode, his mother passed away. And it was pretty hard, obviously very difficult for him. And but they obviously did everything was very touchingly done. And the HBO cameras are very much just trying to just be there for straight up documentation. They don't get really enter themselves in anything. They are flies on the wall kind of scenario. And it was very, very, this is a raw experience, very real raw experience watching that episode. And then you get the second episode is week 1 of the preseason, and it's interesting to see how NFL coaching life is just, you got to bounce right back. You grieve, I guess, in your own ways, everybody does, but you can't. I mean, you're an NFL head coach. You got to get everything figured out, and you have a new offensive coordinator and Todd Haley, who nothing Todd Haley can do to not be the head coach. I mean, you can see even in that first episode when they were in that I mean, guys, go watch it. Guys and gals, go watch the show. But my whole point was actually in the second episode, when Todd Haley's trying to gun for, or the first episode, it looks like Todd Haley's trying to gun for Hugh Jackson's job, but that goes without saying because you just know he's kind of been that guy for a while. But it is what it is. But no. Guy, remember this guy's name, David Njoku. I think he was been all over these fantasy talk message boards that I've been on, Instagram accounts, blah blah blah, whatever these fantasy stuff. He's been all over it, and he's a guy on high, trending up for sure. And he made 2 nice catches actually in the first week of the preseason for touchdowns for the Browns. So, and they are well documented on the second episode of Hard Knocks. So go check it out. And then tonight is episode 3. Of the preseason, covering week 2 of episode 3 of Hard Knocks, covering week 2 of the preseason for the Browns. All right, we'll come back after the break. We're going to do some non PPR talk. David Njoku, there's your tight end to think about if you miss out on the top 5 guys. So you can think about him or maybe pick him up if you want to wait for the waivers. All right, we'll be back in a bit. Stay tuned.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA Podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on it's Tuesday. On Tuesday. We'll be back on Thursday for another edition of the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast with yours truly, Tom Dougherty, as we're coming into this football season where we can get really technical. But as I told my buddy yesterday who has given up on fantasy and doesn't want to be in our league anymore, that it's 50% skill, 50% luck. Yes, you can try and you can look at all the tips and tricks and everything, but do you go on the field and motivate these players? No. They're professional athletes, and sports is hard to guess, and that's why when you think about betting sports, 52%, 53%, 54%, 55% is good. Means you're making money. Fantasy sports is kind of hard to do that with because you have a 10-man league or an 11-man or 12-man league, and only one guy wins. So you have a 1 in 10 chance of winning. That's a lot lower than 55%. So, I mean, your percentage is low anyways. The cards are stacked against you anyways. The guy who was in first place last year, running away with the league last year, I mean, he had, I think, 2 losses in the regular season to the same team, albeit, and then loses in the semifinal to that very team again. And it has literally nothing to do with that team. You can't play there's no defense. You can't prevent the team that your opponent from scoring points at all. So it's all basically crossing your fingers and hopefully that you can score more than them. And you can do everything right. You could pick up the right guy. You could get the most out of your team possible. You could have all your low scorers on your bench, all your high scorers in your roster active, and still lose very easily. Happens all the time. It's a zero-sum games at a certain point. And it's nice to win and it's tough to lose, and I don't think it's not worth giving up because it's fun to go through the process anyways. And it really, for me at least, I mean, I know I probably would be doing it anyways, but it really forces me to pay attention to everything, to watch as many games as I possibly can every weekend. I watch every Monday night game because they usually have implications in the league. I mean, I had a buddy from who played last season in a different league, and he's like, I like to have one Monday night player every week. I like to have one guy in the Monday night game on my team starting every week, because it can come down to it where you can be down by 2 points after Sunday. Obviously, it would be added up anyways, but he likes to go that last day. He wants to make that person he's playing have to pay attention until the last day, and that Monday night game can come into play very well. Well, I mean, Tom, you could just have somebody play on Sunday. Yeah, but you could. It could mean the same. They could score 10 points is 10 points, no matter if you're playing Monday or Sunday. It doesn't matter. You're right. But just that extra little thing where it's like, okay, what's going to happen? I'm up by 13, but he's got Alex Collins for the Ravens tomorrow at Monday Night Football, and he's got an 11-point projection. Am I going to win? Or he's got a 13-point projection or something like that, or whatever it is. And if he makes his projection, I lose. If he doesn't, I win. That's kind of what it is. And it's interesting because you make somebody wait. What if he played on Sunday? Okay, whoa, Tom, what if the Ravens played on Sunday? Alex Collins could have gotten the 13 points then. Yeah, he could have. That's not the point. The point is just, making it interesting, extended it out for one more. And these Thursday night games, even too, are making it fun, because now, basically Tuesday, Wednesday is when you're doing your work. Tuesday, Wednesday, you're doing your work. Thursday, I think Thursday, most leagues lock in. Some leagues lock in. I think ESPN locks your whole roster in on Thursday, which kind of is annoying. I don't like that at all, because that's why I do Yahoo. Yahoo does not lock in your whole roster. It locks in just the players that are in the Thursday game. And if there's a guy who's questionable for the Sunday game, and you have him in your lineup, and then he goes to not playing on Sunday morning, or you wake up that's the thing. On the West Coast, you better wake up at 9, because then you better check John Clayton, the medical reports, and then adjust your rosters accordingly, because that's happened to me too many times where I'll wake up at 10:10. The early games have already started, and you missed out on taking out a guy because now you have a guy who's injured playing, or a guy who's questionable, and he's going to play, but he's going to have a limited snap or something like that, and you wanted to get him out of there, so you didn't wake up early enough. That's another problem too. So lots of different things that, I said 50% luck, 50% skill, because that can make or break your league. You can make or break a league by not waking up early enough. You can make or break your team by just bad luck and everybody outscoring you. I mean, there was a guy last year who had both Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. He had both guys, and they scored a lot of points last year, and he did not finish very well. I mean, it's just two players, but he'd score a lot of points every week, but he'd get beat like 130 to 120 or something like that. I mean, that's actually not the highest score, but like 140 to 130 or something like that on Yahoo is not a bad score. How our league does the scoring. I mean, I don't know. The scorings are all different everywhere. ESPN has more low scoring with 1 decimal point, versus Yahoo does 2 to the hundredths place, 2 decimal points, which I like. So you got to do that. All right. We got a few more. Well, we're not close to this segment, but I have a few more things. I wanted to get to the non PPR stuff, obviously, and going into the non PPR is interesting, because non PPR you can focus. If you're a non PPR league, you automatically have to have a short yardage running back. You need to have the guy who's going to just basically be on the 1 yard line and score. And whether it's a starting running back for some teams, or it's LeGarrette Blount for the Lions, or Marshawn Lynch for the Raiders, even though I think he might actually be starting for them crazily. I think Jalen Richard, who's their third string running back right now, is better than both Doug Martin and Marshawn Lynch. You'll probably find that out this year, because they actually, fortunately, they rotate all their running backs, and he'll get touches regardless of where he is on the depth chart. But PPR catching the ball is not, non-PPR catches aren't as a premium scoring touchdowns. So you want to get these guys who are going to have the most opportunity to score, and that's those short yardage running backs who are going to be able to bowl it in from a yard out. I mean, if you're looking at a starter, there will be starters who are going to be doing that for teams. I mean, Joe Mixon's great in the short yardage plays. I'm sure Saquon Barkley will be a short yardage guy for them on the 1 yard line. Ezekiel Elliott is great on the short yardage plays. So a lot of these running backs are, but I mean, there's other teams like I said, the Lions. The Lions have a lot of options. I haven't actually seen if they've done anything regarding cuts, or if they're going to wait till the end of the preseason with their running back situations. Because they have the rookie in Kerryon Johnson, and then you have obviously the two other guys who have been there for a while in Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick. So I don't know what they're going to be doing there, but I think that you're going to see a lot of short yardage stuff for LeGarrette Blount, as that's what his best qualities have been while he's been in this league. So other than punching people while he was in college, if you guys haven't seen that, go look up LeGarrette Blount. I know I'm not condoning violence or anything like that, but it's a credit to the camera person, whoever it was, whether it was ESPN or Pac-12 Network or whoever it was filming that game on the field after the game was over, because that is a literally perfectly framed camera work of LeGarrette Blount just putting his fist right on the jaw of another player of the opposing team player. We watch. I don't know. I'm not supporting at all of any violence on the football field before, after, during the games at all. But I mean, that's just very good camera work. That's all I'm going to say. We're condoning the camera work, not the actual actions by LeGarrette Blount. But I mean, it was a while ago, and he sucker punched a guy. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny, but the camera work and the fact that you have it so clearly you can see him just do it so obviously is the blaring part of it. So yeah, so you have the Garrett Blount and such like that. So you have to figure that out in Detroit. I mean, you can look at the projection. Actually, it looks like one of their local websites, Michigan Live, has come out with a projection for their running backs. So it looks like that they're going to, it says they're going to keep a bunch of them. So it looks like they're going to keep all four and then have Nick Bellore be the fullback. Interesting. If they're going to have, you have Amir Abdullah showcased for a trade, yeah, that's possible. I think that's actually what's going to end up happening is if you have Amir Abdullah starter in the preseason, you'll probably end up trading him. He's actually not a bad fantasy player either. The Theo Riddick and the Amir Abdullah, the problem is they're virtually the same. Where, okay, who's going to catch the ball? Okay, who's going to run the ball? They're kind of the same kind of player. Maybe Riddick's a little bit more of the between the tackles, rough, tough guy, but Abdullah being the pass, maybe more of the pass catcher. But still, you got Kerryon Johnson there, and I love Kerryon Johnson. Can't wait for him. I can't wait for him to get his day and his due, because he can be a stud in that division. I mean, that division that has Dalvin Cook and Jordan Howard, and I mean, well, honestly, you're going to probably find out the two running backs in Green Bay, or Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, are going to be pretty darn good as well. So there's some good running backs in that division, and also some good defenses, some good linebackers. You got Roquan Smith now in Chicago. Obviously, the Vikings. We know about their defense with Anthony Barr and Hendricks as well. So yeah, you're gonna have some tough sledding when you want to run the ball in the NFC North. But no, there's gonna be some tough runners as well up there. So it's gonna be fun to watch that this whole season. I mean, can we just start now? Can we just have 2 weeks of the preseason? Thank you very much. Let's go. That's my biggest whiny moment. But yeah, PPR, non PPR. My biggest key is getting big play receivers, big bomber receivers, and short yardage running backs who are going to get the touchdowns in the 1 yard line, because catches are not a premium. They're not a premium whatsoever. You guys want non-PPR. You want yards and points. You want yards and touchdowns. Yards, touchdowns, and also get a kicker that kicks a lot. Because I mean, that's for either. But that's the key. I'm like I want to. You can look up stats. You can see how many kicks by like how many times they settle for a field goal. Extra points are nice because it actually is it's a point every time, no matter what. And they're pretty much, well, actually they're not making it every time anymore. But you think actually, I might have to talk to them. If you're commissioners out there, would you be willing to make it like 1.5 for extra point, or you think a point's still good? Because they don't make it as much anymore. It's not automatic anymore. I think honestly a point's fine, because a point was a lot when they were automatic. That was a lot to get for an automatic thing. Now you're getting a whole point for making a field goal they should make, but they don't make every time anymore because of because of the length now for the extra points. But that's a different conversation. Probably I'd probably just answer my own question, saying that 1 point is enough, because they should make them anyways. But 1 point was actually too much, I think, when it was the automatic. Now that they've backed it up, it makes more sense for its point. But they still don't make it every time. And PPR, you got to find your point. Non PPR, you got to find your point somewhere. Fortunately, your whole league is that way, so it's not a big deal. Everybody's even. All right, we'll come back after the break, and we're going to do those draft keys. Actually, I think I'm going to do a mock draft on Fantasy Pros if I can get it all set up correctly and not have it crash on me again. So we'll do that when we come back. So everybody stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on a Tuesday today here, as we're going to do our mock drafts. In this segment, I'm going to do at least one, because, it's all variables. It changes every time. You never know who's going to be available and who's not. Like I said, it's the best thing in draft is to try and gauge your group. Get a read of the room. Know if there's going to be somebody who's a fan of a team that's going to draft a bunch of their players. You can take advantage of that. It's all a gamble. I'm going to take this player now. I'm going to bet that this player will still be available when I get to pick again. Because a snake draft, it's not the same. If you do a snake draft, obviously you're not picking the same slot every time. If you're the last pick, you pick back to back. You can have a chance of back to back picks a lot every other time. But the price to pay with that is, when you don't have a back-to-back pick, well, after that second pick, back-to-back, you're not picking again for 20 turns, and that's 20 players right there out the door, and you better know that, okay, the two guys I just picked are going to be okay, and then I'm going to have to find two guys down the road a little further. So that's why I like to pick like in the fifth spot, because you get the same spot every time. There's no variation. Maybe if it's an 8-man league, if it's a 10-man league, then yeah, you're picking every 5 turns. Every 5 turns you're picking, so I like that better. So going over to the Fantasy Pros Draft Simulator, I want to start it again. We'll do 10-man league PPR, as I like to do here with the Draft Wizard, the Draft Simulator, or whatever they want to call it, here, and then cross my fingers that it doesn't crash on me again. But it's whatever. We usually does. If it does, it's going to crash by like round 14 when we already have everything. So let's do 10-man league. We'll do randomized position. I'll be picking 7th. 1 quarterback, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a flex, and then everything else is pretty much standard. As we'll see who gets picked first. So this is where it's either been Gurley, it's been Bell. We had this one's going to be Gurley. It goes for. Oh wait, did I switch it to PPR or no? I may have not done that. Hold on, let's go back and do this again. Make sure it's on PPR. Yeah, so it was on standard. I want to do PPR. All right, there we go. I want to do PPR, even though actually, we'll do 1 PPR, 1 non PPR. Make it easy. Make it easy. I should have just kept it like that, but it's okay. All right, here we go. PPR. We'll see if Gurley goes again. In the first, yeah, it's going to be Gurley again, then Bell, then David Johnson, then Zeke. So Zeke was 3rd with non PPR. It's interesting. How he's the one guy that really moves around a little bit when it comes to PPR, non-PPR. But he goes fourth, and then Antonio Brown drops to fifth. So it mixes up. Honestly, I think Antonio Brown with PPR is a third round pick. You pick those. You have Gurley and Bell, and then I think you're gonna go with the running back with the receiver. And right now, I mean, I had the ninth pick actually. It randomized for me. So I have the ninth pick in the draft, second to last pick. So I'll pick twice. Not back to back, but only 2 picks in between me. So I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins because he's the best available, and that's who I like for a PPR receiver, anyways. And then so Melvin Gordon and Odell Beckham go off the board. So I still have Michael Thomas. I see that's the thing. Before the first 4 rounds, I like to go 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and sometimes it ends up where the receivers are more. I missed out on the top. I missed out on top running backs. I missed the top running backs. I didn't get Gurley. I didn't get Bell, Johnson, Elliott, Kamara, Barkley, Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon. They're all gone. So here's where you come in, and you're basically hedging your betting right now. Okay, do I take Julio Jones and have Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins on my team, a great force for PPR, and then mix and match my running backs based off guys who are going to be available pass-catching running backs, and that's exactly what I would do. Michael Thomas is on the board as well. Leonard Fournette's going to get taken before I pick again, but it's okay because it's fine. I'm not really worried about it. I'll find a guy. I'll find it. Maybe McKinnon will still be there. I'll find somebody to go in the running back position, because if you're not going to get one of those top-tier running backs, then don't reach for a running back in the second round. Like this is a perfect example. I'm glad this happened because that's what people do. Oh, I'm going to take Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is not a pass catching running back that much for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If it's going to be anybody, it's going to be T.J. Yeldon catching the ball out of the backfield for them. So it's a perfect example of you miss out on those top guys. Basically, the guys I just read off: Gurley, Bell, Johnson, Zeke, Kamara, Barkley, Hunt, and Melvin Gordon. You're basically left with Leonard Fournette, and that's it. And you can take him with the 12th overall pick, or you can go with a top receiver who had a down year last year but should probably be fine this year. I mean, I know that they're going to double cover him, and Calvin Ridley's going to be a great one. No, well, Calvin Ridley just adds another wrinkle, another person to cover, so it probably will uncover Julio a little bit more, even though he should be able to get open anyways. But Michael Thomas is there too, and Michael Thomas has no Mark Ingram for the first 4 weeks. Honestly, I can't go against myself. I've been high on Michael Thomas for a long time. He's got the most catches in the league since he entered the league. We're taking Michael Thomas. I don't care. Julio, I'm not really happy with him right now. So we'll take Michael Thomas, and it goes Leonard Fournette. Let's see if McKinnon's gone. So it goes Leonard Fournette. Julio Jones went after Fournette, mind you. Then Keenan Allen, which would have been nice. Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Adams, AJ Green, Devonta Freeman, Robert Gronkowski, LaShawn McCoy, McKinnon, Mixon, Evans, T.Y. Hilton, Jordan Howard, and Tyreek Hill. So basically, I'm left with Alex Collins and Jay Ajayi, who actually I don't mind whatsoever. I like Jay Ajayi, and honestly, I like Alex Collins too. So I'm not really worried about taking those guys. I'll take Alex Collins here. Then it goes Travis Kelce and Doug Baldwin. And I'm gonna have to stick with my guns. I'm gonna have to stick with my my rule that with 2 receivers, 2 running backs, the first 4 picks. And honestly, Jay Ajayi and Alex Collins, they're gonna catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. They're PPR machines. And the thing is, I mean, obviously, I'm not doing keeper league right now. I would have Gurley in the bag for my actual draft this year. But yeah, we'll take Jay Ajayi because he's going to be a guy that's going to get open. He's going to be a guy that's going to be in a full season now with the Eagles. You saw what he did in a half season. So I mean, what's wrong with that? And then a bunch of receivers go. So I mean, I have Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins. I'm okay on receiver. I'm good. I'm not really worried about my receivers anymore right now. I probably will end up just going to a tight end because that's the next guy up, and I think that all the top tight ends, is Evan Ingram still there? Yeah, he's still there. Ertz is gone, Kelsey's gone, and Gronkowski's gone. Actually, they switched up Greg Olsen has moved up to number 4 in the rankings here for Fantasy Pros. Evan Ingram was at 4 for a while. But yeah, no, because I have 2 picks again, so I have 2 picks in a row. And I could take Marvin Jones, or I'm not taking, or Corey Davis actually, and still get a tight end. So, well, I don't think Corey Davis is going to get picked. So let's take the tight end. Take Evan Ingram, because I think he's going to be very good this year for the Giants, and kind of those play action plays when they're going to fake it to Saquon and throw it right over the top and make. And Evan Ingram is a very, very good athletic tight end, where he's going to be a mismatch for a lot of linebackers. And basically, if he gets lined up against a linebacker who can't cover that well, watch out, because he's going to be running right by him, especially on play action plays where everybody's going to be thinking they're handing it to Saquon. So then Royce Freeman, who's a rookie from Oregon, actually might have one of the best seasons of any of the running backs. He's good. And then Josh Gordon goes first pick of the 6th round. So now I have, I still have that. Who did I want? I wanted Corey Davis. Where'd he go? He went off my board here, but I'll get him again. There he is. Dion Lewis. I got to go after a quarterback, honestly, right here. But Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz. Actually, I have to go. This is the point where you have to decide. 6th round. Do you just go with a quarterback here? Carson Wentz is available. I'll take Carson Wentz. Kirk Cousins actually moved up to number 8, so I didn't say Kirk Cousins. Andrew Luck's at 9, but we never know what's going to happen with him. Jimmy Garoppolo dropped down to 13. Phillip Rivers is at 12 now. So they've definitely shuffled their things. But I'm going to go Carson Wentz right now. Or the thing is, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz. Honestly, Drew, even though they don't throw the ball that much, he still puts up good points. I want to look at his. We can look at his output from last year. I know I'm taking way too long here in between my picks. I would not be this. This is bad etiquette showing you. But I need to check. I want to check Drew's points from last year, because this is all research still. It's the mock draft. I can take it however long I want. Breeze. I love that Yahoo did not cancel out my league from last year, so I still have all of my information, all the game logs from last year. Yeah, he never scored. Well, he never scored. He never went crazy, but he never really was bad either. So, and I think this year, especially without those first 4 weeks without Ingram, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more for the Saints. So honestly, let's take Drew. I want to take Drew more over Carson Wentz, because I just think that I like the fact that he's going to be the average draft position for him is 77. Really, that's what they're telling me, and we're on the 52nd pick. Carson Wentz is 68. Sean Watson already got picked. Cam Newton's still on there too, but he's so inaccurate. I'm not a Cam Newton fan. Honestly, let's stay away from the quarterbacks. We're gonna come back. I'll end up with one of those guys at the bottom. I'm not really a big fan of drafting that, stretching that early, even though the fact that I don't have a pick for the longest time, that's the problem. So this is a risk, but I want Corey Davis, because I want Corey Davis on my team. Honestly, this year I'm going to probably pick him for my team this year. Look at Cam Newton goes, Drew Brees goes. So right now I have Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Jimmy Garoppolo left. So everybody went. Obviously, I told you Carson Wentz was going to go, and so was Drew Brees. But they went right along with their draft position, so that's fine. It says Kirk Cousins, LOL. I'm not going to get Kirk Cousins, even though, honestly, Kirk Cousins in Minnesota would not be a bad fantasy pick, because he actually airs it out. Honestly, you know what? I'm going to take Kirk Cousins, because I want to see what kind of draft grade I get with him. It gives me a good gauge on what this simulator thinks of him. And then, of course, I have a pick right after. So we took Kirk Cousins. Ben Roethlisberger went after him. Then Mark Ingram. I want another. Who do I not have yet? Do I have I have a tight end? I have a flex. Corey Davis, my flex. I need another running back. Pass catching running back. Oh, Dion Lewis is right there. Look at that. Bang. Thank you. I'll take Dion Lewis. He's going to be that's going to be interesting seeing what he does in Tennessee. I'm probably not going to make it to the second draft because we're already at 58 minutes. Wow. I guess we'll do a non PPR draft on Thursday. I promise. All right, so we got Tevin Coleman. Actually, wouldn't be bad. That's another pass catching running back. Thank you very much. I'll take that with the grain. I'll take that very easily. Thank you very little. So that's what I like to do. I told you I like to have 2 running backs. If you don't have the same bye week, doesn't matter. They're on my bench, and 2 receivers on my bench, and then a defense and what else did I say? 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a defense. And I don't think I said a kicker. Oh, a quarterback. Yeah, I like to have a second quarterback just in case. Honestly, Jared Goff, I'm probably going to pick him my last pick. I have another pick. Matt Breida's still there. Corey Clement's still there. Marlon Mack, Duke Johnson, Chris Thompson, Tarek Cohen. Those are all Sony Michel, all great pass-catching running backs. I'm trying to look at the wide receiver list here. Who the highest up on the receiver list is. Trey Burton's a tight end. Nelson Aguilar, honestly, let's snag him because I actually like what he's going to do in Philly. Let's grab Nelson Aguilar there. And as everything goes along here. All right, round 11, pick 109. Kyle Rudolph still has not been picked, which is, whatever, because people think that he's not going to be that good. I think he's going to be fine this year. I think he's going to be fine. I know there's a lot of different options on that team, but it is what it is. So all left right now are quarterbacks and tight ends. Why do I have a tough time finding anybody? There's tons of running backs, obviously. Where's all my receivers? There they are. Rashard Matthews. Oh, I forgot about Jordan Matthews, who I love. That's it. He's way down the list, but I like him in there's Jordan Matthews on did he get cut? It says free agent. He might have got cut. All right, I got to finish this. I'm running out of time here. All right, we'll take Rashard Matthews there as my second receiver for my bench. And then we'll go defense probably. I bet you a bunch of people will pick defenses now. And then kicker, and then, you can get it. I'm going to pick my defense. Oh, did it stop? Or is it my turn again? Already? Oh, it is. I got to pick back-to-back. That's right. So let's take a defense, honestly, because this is the end of the draft. Let's take the Vikings defense. No. Yeah, and Kai Forbath, who got cut. Kai Forbath got cut. Don't draft him. Don't draft Kai Forbath. He got cut. I still have 2 more bench spots to fill. Holy moly. I said I like to get 2 defenses, and I got Minnesota defense. I'll take the kicker from the Lions. That Matt Prater still. Matt Prater, and I like him. And then my second defense, honestly, is going to be San Diego. The Chargers defense is going to be good this year. Honestly, if they don't get drafted, because just so nobody else gets him, I want to have him on my bench just so nobody else gets him, and I just keep him there all year long. All right, that'll wrap it up for the show, guys. I'll come back on Thursday and we'll do the draft non PPR style. I know I didn't end up getting a grade because I didn't finish and I still have 3 more rounds to go. Yeah, let's just do it really quickly. Gio Bernard, that's fine. I want to see what the grade I got on this draft. Latavius Murray, it's fine. See, this is gonna affect my draft grade. There's all the kickers. Matt Prater, look at that. I ended up with Matt Prater for reals. I was actually kidding. Yeah, I got like a B- because of those the ended up ones. Yeah, not the best draft, but I ended up with Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins. And honestly, PPR, I don't know what they're talking about. That's actually not a bad draft. Kirk Cousins, DeAndre Hopkins, and Michael Thomas, J.J. Alex Collins, Evan Ingram is your tight end, Corey Davis, Minnesota Vikings defense. They're all going to be fine this year. I don't know what they're talking about. That's a good draft. My bench is probably kind of weak, but that's all turned over. All right. See you guys on Thursday. Talk to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.